Hello. New research shows that a staggering number of property owners are becoming accidental landlords and are unwittingly opening themselves to all kinds of risks. Well, here to tell us what those risks are as well as how to avoid them are Eddie Hooker from Total Landlord Insurance and Marie Paris from George Ellis Properties. She's also the author of the forthcoming book, The Simplified Guide to Letting and Managing Your Own Property. Welcome to both of you.
Hello.
So this idea that lots of people are becoming accidental landlords, why is that?
Economy first and foremost, and a life cycle still goes on. People move, they get married, they divorce, they die, they can't sell their properties. What do? They're renting. There's not enough finance in the system to be able to have the mortgages, quite frankly, and that's what's creating the accidental landlords.
And I think also there's the investor landlord element. An example would be parents buying property for their children when they go to university and letting out those properties to them and their friends, and that creates a landlord scenario.
So if they're accidental, even if they're investors, is it possible then that they're fairly unprepared? And what sort of problems might they encounter if they aren't properly prepared?
A whole raft of problems. I mean, you know, one of the most main things is tenant arrears. But we as landlords, there are just a myriad of laws, regulations, guidelines that we have to adhere to. And they could be things such as unfair consumer terms in contracts, or they could be a breach on the data protection. So they're not specifically just landlord or housing specific. That's why the knowledge is really important.
And I think also the research which we undertook at Total Landlord Insurance showed that communication between the landlord and the tenant is an issue now. And part of that is because a lot of people aren't used to dealing with tenants. So, you know, and tenants are now consumers. They have rights and they are people. And if you're not used to working with people, that causes unrealistic expectations for both parties.
So what are the fundamental safeguards that a new landlord needs to put in place to protect themselves? Somebody, you know, what can they do this afternoon?
Well, I think first and foremost, if we take it back a little bit, due diligence is very important, number one. Knowing who you're going to rent to, how much is your property going to be worth, have a look on the portals, get the right permission. So, you know, if it's your residential property, make sure that you've got permission from the lender. If it's a leasehold property, get permission from the freeholder. And then it's a case of having the right insurance and knowing the regulations that you have to deal with up front. Gas safe certificate, EPC has to be done now from the point of marketing when you're advertising your property.
Rent guarantee insurance, legal expenses insurance. Research, I think, is the answer, isn't it? Do your homework.
It sounds quite daunting. Where can people go for an overview of all that they need to do? You know, where can they get some general advice?
Right. Landlords associations are always a good place to actually start because they work in the interest of landlords, and you get a multitude of so many different benefits with that. Also check out, you know, various government websites because they will have the right information about legislation, so where you can look at things such as your rights under Section 11, your repairing obligations, or indeed the 17 grounds for possession. So those, as you know, are two most definite. The internet is a great place, but you need to be able to sift through the information on that.
And I think also if you're very worried about letting your property yourself, use a letting agent. But be careful with the type of letting agent you're using. Make sure that they are accredited to an organisation such as ALA, which is the Association of Residential Letting Agents, or UCALA, or has the Safe Agent badge, is a new badge that's out there. Don't just expect the agent to do everything for you. You do have some obligations yourself.
So do your homework,
basically. Do your homework.
Do your homework is vitally important. The law is evolving, you've got to keep on top of that. Knowledge is the essence.
Thank you. My thanks to Marie and Eddie for joining us. And if you want to find out more about dealing with troublesome tenants, then go to totallandlordinsurance.co.uk. Bye-bye.